Hello, I'm Deborah Sword.
Hi, I'm Tyson Bankert.
Tyson, you and I were talking about uh, how to listen. And one of the courses I studied in university was conversation analysis. And
Okay.
in conversation analysis, every word, every punctuation mark, when somebody goes or or they all have significance. And one of the aspects of conversation analysis is past, present, and future. If you are listening to somebody's conversation, you become aware of whether they focus on the past, the present, or the future. And it matters to their decision making. So, somebody who focuses a lot on the past tends to have some regret about past decisions that makes a difference to how they make decisions now. So they become, well, I made this decision and now I have to live with the consequences. And their conversation has words like, I used to, or there was a time, or once I did this. And you can hear them speaking in the past tense. You've
Mm,
probably heard people who spend a lot of time, their conversations tend to be about past experiences.
hmm hmm
Present speakers have more conversation around what's going on now. They are, and none of this is wrong, by the way. This is just a way of being, and we all have capacity to do all three. But people who are more rooted in the present, their conversation will use more words like, I'm going, I am doing, I am thinking, I will make this decision. It's much more immediate. The future thinkers sometimes have trouble making decisions. They tend to delay decision making because they want to collect more information, make sure their decision is correct. So they put it off as long as possible to keep all of their options open. When you're having conversations or you're working on a team, it's really important to know whether who you're dealing with and what their
Yep.
focus is if you need them to collaborate with you on decision making. And Tyson, you work a lot in teams. What have you noticed about that?
Mm. Yeah, that's such a great question. I'm thinking a little bit about how what people are being informed of. So I find that like when we talk about in the context of this past, present, future, um, you might have people on the team, if I'm listening correctly, it might be thinking, well, we've done this type of thing before. This is how it might work, or we don't want to repeat the same thing, but they're responding to past experiences. But then I also have found folks who are living who are existing in that future. Everything is riding on us to do this really, really well. Or we this will make us a stronger team if we do it this way in the future, right? And I find that when the tone or the parameter sort of exists, the conversation are kind of existing in sort of one or two or in the present outcomes as well as another sort of scenario, it helps me understand what our focus actually is. And also where people are might be emotionally tied to along that kind of continuum. And so I find that to be a really helpful way to go, like, where are we rooted in? Are we rooted in the past, present, or future? None of those are inherently wrong or bad, but to understand what exactly are we, what is influencing us? What is driving us? And I think that is really helpful for me, especially someone who consults a lot with groups, going, all right, where are we at here? And because I don't always think that the present is always also very always helpful either. And so, I think being able to, at the very least, understand where the majority of people are interested to understand their intentions is really important. Taking that framework.
That's great. And I'm sure people who are listening have probably had similar experiences with group
Mhm.
work. And in where the conflicts tend to come from, in and I in my group work where I'm dealing with teams that are dysfunctional, you deal
Mhm.
when they're functioning. When they're dysfunctional to the point that they call me in, sometimes I observe that the difference is among whether people in the team are in different time zones.
Right,
One
right.
is foot dragging because they had an experience in the past that didn't go well, or they had an experience in the past that went really well and they want to recreate it, or they have some regret about something they did in the past and so they're afraid of repeating the mistake,
Mhm.
or they want to do it exactly the same way because it was successful. Then you've got somebody in the present who's saying, come on, let's just make a decision right now.
Right.
Come on, we've got to decide what is the holdup. I've got other things I want to be doing right now. And then there's the person in the future who says, well, let's get some more information. I don't think we're ready yet. Let's keep our options open. What happens if down the road this happens, then what'll we do? And the person who's in the present is saying, we'll deal with it when it happens. Let's just decide and move on. And so the conflict is around which time zone the person is
Mhm.
working in. And sometimes it's just a question of finding out what is behind the person being where they are. What is it about that past decision that has you paralyzed now so you can't move into the present and plan for the future? But just being aware that there's people are operating from three different perspectives can really be a conflict competency.
Mhm. Mhm. That's wonderful. That's such a great way to help support anyone who's listening to reflect and think about ways in which they can become more competent and also support people through conflict, um, through those through that past, present, future dynamic.
Thank you very much for listening. We hope you will return, listen to more of the Conflict Owners Manual. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, ask a question. We love to hear from you.
We'll see you next week.